Someone said something to you today. Maybe it was a single word. Maybe a tone. Maybe just a look they gave you across the room. And right now, hours later, you're still thinking about it. You've replayed it 4 times. You've imagined what you should have said. You've let it affect your mood, your focus, your energy. And that one moment, that tiny, forgettable moment, is running your entire day. That's not a personality flaw. That's an untrained mind. And I'm not saying that to insult you. I'm saying it because I've lived it. And because the moment I understood what was actually happening inside my own head, everything changed. Here's the truth most people never realize. You are not stressed because life is hard. You are stressed because your mind was never taught how to handle life. Nobody sits you down and says, here's how to control your reaction. Here's how to protect your energy. Here's how to stay unshakable when everything around you falls apart. They don't teach this in school. Nobody puts it on a poster. But the ancient Stoics figured it out over 2,000 years ago, and it's sitting in their writings, waiting for you. Today, I'm going to give you 10 Stoic habits. Not quotes, not theory, habits that will, if you actually use them, make you mentally unbreakable. Not someone who pretends emotions don't exist. Not someone who goes cold and disconnected. But someone who feels everything and is controlled by nothing. Stay with me until the end, because lesson 7 is the one nobody talks about, and it might be the most important thing you hear this year. Let's begin. Let me describe you right now, honestly. Someone disrespects you, you fire back. Something goes wrong, you panic. You get criticized, your mood crashes. You receive bad news, your whole day collapses. You react. Instantly. Every time. And you don't even notice it happening, because it happens so fast. Here's what's actually going on. Between the thing that happens, the event, the insult, the message, the failure, and your reaction to it, there is a gap. A tiny, invisible moment of space. Most people never find it. Most people skip straight from stimulus to reaction, like a reflex. Like a knee-jerk. No thinking. No choosing. Just reacting. Epictetus, a man born into slavery who became one of the greatest minds of the ancient world, called this the most important space in human life. He said, "It's not what happens to you that defines you. It's what you do in that space between what happens and how you respond." Think about a dog and a ball. You throw the ball, the dog chases it. Every time. Without question. Without thought. The ball moves, the dog moves. Automatic. Most people live like that dog. Something moves in their environment. An insult, a setback, an unexpected problem, and they chase it. Automatically. Without choosing to. But a trained mind is different. A trained mind sees the ball fly and pauses. Just for a moment. And in that pause, it decides. Do I chase this? Does this deserve my energy? Is my reaction going to help me or destroy me? That pause is not weakness. That pause is power. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire of 60 million people, fought wars, managed betrayal, lost children, faced plagues, and he practiced this pause every single day. He wrote to himself in his journal, not for anyone else to read, just to remind himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. He didn't say you have power over everything. He said you have power over your mind. That's where the work is, starting today. Whenever you feel triggered, whatever the situation, do not respond for 5 seconds. Just 5. Feel the emotion. Let it exist. Don't fight it. Don't perform it. Just notice it. Then choose your response. Not react. Respond. That 5-second pause will, over time, become 10 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute. And eventually, you'll look back at your old self, the one who fired back instantly, who panicked, who let every little thing control them. And you won't even recognize that person. The pause is where your freedom lives. I want you to think about the last time you were really hurt. Not physically, emotionally. The last time something wounded you deeply. Now I need you to answer this honestly. What actually happened? Not what you felt. Not what it meant. Not what it said about you, or them, or the world. What actually happened? The raw, neutral, factual event. Because here is what Epictetus discovered. And this is one of the most unsettling ideas in all of philosophy. Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them. You are not suffering because of what happened. You are suffering because of the story you immediately wrote about what happened. And your mind writes these stories so fast, so automatically, that you confuse the story for reality. Someone doesn't reply to your message. That's the event. Neutral. Complete. But your mind doesn't stop there. Your mind writes a story. They're ignoring me. They don't value me. I must have said something wrong. Something is wrong with me. Now you're anxious. Now you're hurt. Now you're withdrawing or attacking. But here's the devastating truth. None of that second part was real. The story was yours. The pain came from your interpretation, not from reality. Think about a security camera. It records exactly what happens. No judgment, no story, no meaning attached. Just footage. Your mind is not a security camera. Your mind is more like a dramatic screenwriter who takes 40 seconds of neutral footage and turns it into a feature-length psychological thriller, complete with a villain, a victim, and a devastating ending. And then you live in that movie. And then you suffer in that movie. Marcus Aurelius practiced something he called stripping things naked, removing the emotional labels he placed on events and seeing them in their raw form. Not "this is terrible," just "this is what happened." Not "this is unfair," just "this occurred." Not "this means I'm a failure," just "I did not succeed at this attempt." When you strip the emotional label, you strip the unnecessary suffering. Every time something hurts you this week, write down 2 columns. Left column, what actually happened? Just facts, like a camera would record. Right column, the story your mind added. Then ask, which one am I actually suffering from? You'll start to notice that 80% of your pain lives in the right column. And the right column is yours. You wrote it, which means you can rewrite it. That is the beginning of real emotional freedom. You are being robbed every single day. Not your money, not your time. Something more valuable than both. Your attention. Every notification. Every pointless conversation. Every argument you got pulled into. Every toxic person you spent an hour thinking about after they were gone. Every piece of negative content you absorbed without even realizing it. Your attention was taken. And with it, your mental energy, your clarity, your peace. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Read that slowly. Your mind doesn't just process what you expose it to, it becomes it. Give your mind chaos, it becomes chaotic. Give it negativity, it becomes negative. Give it comparison and envy, it becomes restless and dissatisfied. You are not separate from what you consume. You are made of it. Now think about how you spend your attention on a typical day. 15 minutes arguing with a stranger online about something that won't matter in a week. 40 minutes scrolling through other people's highlight reels while your own life waits. An hour in a conversation that left you feeling drained and empty. An entire afternoon mentally replaying something someone said to you 3 days ago. This is not living. This is leaking. And here's the painful part. You chose all of it. Not consciously, but you chose it. Epictetus taught that attention is the one thing that is entirely yours. It belongs to no one else. No circumstance can take it, but you can give it away. And most people give it away constantly, freely, to anything that asks for it. Imagine your mental energy is a bank account. Every distraction is a withdrawal. Every negative person is a withdrawal. Every useless reaction, every pointless scroll, every overthought conversation, withdrawal, withdrawal, withdrawal. And you wonder why you feel bankrupt by 6 p.m. Once a day, ideally in the morning before anything else. Ask yourself, what deserves my attention today? Make the list, then defend it. Not aggressively, not rudely, but firmly. When something tries to pull your attention away from that list, a notification, a drama, an argument, pause and ask, is this on my list? Did I decide this mattered? If the answer is no, decline it. Not forever, just for today. Do this for 7 days and watch what happens to your energy. Every morning, Marcus Aurelius woke up and did something that most modern self-help would call negative thinking. He would sit and deliberately imagine the day ahead, and specifically imagine the difficult parts. He would think, today I will meet people who are rude. Today something will not go according to plan. Today I will face friction, frustration, and delay. Today someone will disappoint me. Not because he was pessimistic. Not because he was depressed. Because he was prepared. The Stoics called this premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. The deliberate, daily practice of anticipating difficulty before it arrives. And here's why it works. When you expect life to be easy, when you walk into your day assuming cooperation, fairness, smooth sailing, every obstacle hits you like a surprise attack. Every difficult person feels like a personal assault. Every delay feels like a catastrophe. Every small failure feels like evidence that something is deeply wrong. You get knocked over and over again by things that were always going to be there. But when you expect difficulty, when you've already rehearsed it in your mind, something different happens. The rude colleague shows up, and you've already met them in your imagination this morning. The delay happens, and you've already decided how you'll handle it. The plan falls apart, and you're not surprised. You planned for this possibility. You are no longer being ambushed by life. You are moving through a terrain you already mapped. Think of a soldier preparing for battle. They don't spend the night before imagining everything going perfectly. They spend the night running scenarios. What if this happens? What if that happens? What do I do? Not fear. Preparation. This is not pessimism. Pessimism says, things will go wrong and I can't handle it. Premeditatio says, things will go wrong, and here's exactly how I'll respond. One takes your power away. The other gives it back. Every morning, before you pick up your phone, before you check messages, before you start the day, spend 2 minutes doing this. Think of the 3 most likely sources of friction today. A difficult conversation, a task that might not go smoothly, a person who tends to drain your energy. Now decide in advance, how will I respond? Not react. Respond. By the time the difficulty arrives, and it will arrive, you've already made your choice that I want to talk about something real for a moment. You've been hurt. Not just inconvenienced, genuinely hurt. Failed at something that mattered. Been betrayed by someone you trusted. Worked hard and gotten nothing in return. Lost something you can't get back. And right now your instinct with that pain is one of 2 things. Either you're trying to escape it, scroll it away, distract it away, sleep it away, drink it away. Or you're drowning in it, replaying it, feeding it, letting it tell you what you're worth. Both responses are wasting the most powerful resource you have. Because pain, real pain, is not an obstacle. It's fuel. The Stoics never said don't feel. That's a misunderstanding of everything they taught. They said, feel everything, but don't become it. And then, and this is the part most people miss, use it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This is not a motivational quote. This is an operating system. What he means is, the very thing that is blocking you, hurting you, grinding you down, that thing is not in the way of your development. It is your development. Think about a blade being forged. The blacksmith doesn't put the metal in the fire to destroy it. The fire is how the metal becomes something harder, sharper, more capable than it was before. You are the metal. Your pain is the fire. The question is not, how do I avoid this heat? The question is, what am I becoming because of it? Someone rejected you, and you used that rejection to rebuild yourself. You failed publicly, and you used that humiliation to develop something more durable than pride. You were broken down, and in the rebuilding, you became someone that chaos cannot touch. That's not toxic positivity. That's Stoic alchemy, the discipline of transforming what hurts into what strengthens. The next time something genuinely painful happens, don't ask, why did this happen to me? Ask instead, what is this making possible? Not what did I lose? What has this opened? Not why did this happen? What can I build from this? Write your answer down. You don't have to believe it yet. Just write it. The mind follows the direction you point it. Even when you don't fully trust the direction yet, right now, as you're listening to this, where is your mind? Not your body, your mind. Is it here? Or is it somewhere else? Replaying something that already happened, or rehearsing something that hasn't happened yet? Be honest. Because most people's minds are almost never where their body is. Most people are physically present and mentally somewhere else. Usually somewhere that is generating anxiety, regret, or fear. And here's the brutal reality. The past doesn't exist anymore. The future doesn't exist yet. The only moment that is actually real, the only moment where you can breathe, act, think, or change anything, is right now. Yet most of us spend most of our time living in moments that don't exist. You have an important meeting next week, and you're already living through the 10 ways it could go wrong. The embarrassment, the criticism, the worst-case outcome. None of that has happened. None of it may ever happen. But your body is responding to it as if it's real. Your cortisol is rising. Your sleep is disrupted. Your focus is gone. You're suffering from a future that exists only in your imagination. The Stoics observed this clearly. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And Marcus Aurelius constantly brought himself back to one question. A question I want you to memorize and use. What is required of me right now? Not tomorrow. Not in 5 years. Not in the worst-case scenario. Right now. In this moment. What is actually required of me? That question cuts through all of it. The anxiety, the catastrophizing, the mental time travel. It brings you back to the only place where anything can actually be done. Think of a lens focusing sunlight. Scattered light just warms the air. Diffuse. Weak. Spreading everywhere at once. But focus through a lens onto a single point. That same light can start a fire. Your attention works the same way. Scattered across past and future, it's weak and draining. Focused on this moment, it becomes powerful enough to change things. When you notice your mind racing toward anxiety about the future or regret about the past, and you will notice it because it happens constantly, ask that question. What is required of me right now? Then do only that. Not the imagined crisis. Not the rehearsed conversation. Just what is actually in front of you. Do this enough times, and you'll discover something remarkable. The present moment is almost always manageable. Almost always survivable. Almost always enough. It's the imagined moments that destroy us. I told you at the beginning that lesson 7 is the one nobody talks about. Here it is. You are living your life in a hall of mirrors. Every decision you make, filtered through, what will they think? Every achievement measured against, did anyone notice? Every failure amplified by, what does this make me look like? Every version of yourself, the one you show up as, the words you choose, the risks you take or don't take, shaped and distorted by the invisible audience in your head. And here's the worst part. Most of that audience isn't even real. You're managing the opinions of people who aren't watching. You're performing for a crowd that went home. This is not a character flaw. This is how we're wired. We evolved to care about social approval. It kept us alive in tribes. Rejection meant death. Belonging meant survival. But we are no longer in tribes. And the cost of living approval dependent in the modern world is enormous. Every time your mood is determined by how many likes a post gets, you are not free. Every time you change what you say because of who might be listening, you are not free. Every time you don't pursue something because of what someone might think, you are not free. You are living inside other people's heads. And it is exhausting. Marcus Aurelius, a man who literally had all of Rome watching his every move, who was worshipped and criticized and scrutinized every day of his life, wrote this to himself. I have often wondered how it is that every man loves himself more than all the rest of men, but yet sets less value on his own opinion of himself than on the opinion of others. Read that again slowly. You love yourself, but you trust strangers more than you trust your own judgment. You value your life, but you let people who barely know you determine whether that life is going well. Epictetus pushed further. He said, stop caring what people think, not because people don't matter, but because the only opinion of you that has lasting power is the one you hold of yourself. If you act well, if you act with integrity, if you act according to your own values, that is enough. Full stop. Once a day, ask yourself this question instead of any question about how you appear. Did I act according to my own values today? Not. Did people approve? Not. Did I impress anyone? Not. What do they think of me now? Just, did I act like the person I'm trying to become? If yes, that's enough. That's actually enough. Start measuring yourself on the inside. The outside will sort itself out. When was the last time you were completely alone with your thoughts? No phone, no music, no podcast, no show, no scroll. Just you and the silence. Most people can't even finish that sentence without feeling uncomfortable. And that discomfort, that almost physical need to reach for something, anything, to fill the silence, is telling you something important. Something in there you haven't looked at. Maybe it's an emotion you've been avoiding, a fear you haven't named, a decision you've been postponing, a truth about your life that's easier to drown out than to face. And so you stay busy, you stay distracted, you stay connected, not because you love noise, but because the silence asks questions you don't want to answer. Here's what the Stoics understood that modern life actively prevents you from knowing. You cannot know yourself if you never spend time with yourself. And if you don't know yourself, you cannot control yourself. You'll be moved by every external force, shaped by every external pressure, because there is no stable internal center to return to. Marcus Aurelius journaled every single day, not for publication, not for posterity, just for himself, to understand his own mind, to confront his own weaknesses, to look directly at the thoughts he was most tempted to avoid. He didn't do this because it was comfortable. He did it because he understood something most people spend their whole lives running from. What you avoid controls you. What you face, you can master. The anxiety that you keep scrolling past, it doesn't disappear. It grows. Because what you refuse to acknowledge in the daylight gets louder in the dark. The grief you've been numbing for years, it's waiting. The resentment, the fear, the self-doubt you've buried under 1,000 distractions, still there, still running in the background, still shaping every decision you make, whether you acknowledge it or not. But when you sit with it, when you stop running and simply turn around and look at it, something unexpected happens. It gets smaller. Not immediately, not easily, but it gets smaller. Because most of what we fear inside our own minds is not nearly as monstrous as we've built it up to be in avoidance. 10 minutes, every day alone. No device, no sound. Don't meditate if that feels forced. Don't try to empty your mind. That's not the goal. Just sit. Let your thoughts come. Observe them. Maybe write them down. You don't have to solve anything. You don't have to fix anything. Just let yourself be there, in your own company, without running. Do this for 2 weeks. Then tell me it didn't change something. Whatever is stressing you right now, will it matter in 10 years? I'm serious. Think about the actual thing. The argument, the setback, the humiliation, the loss, the failure, the thing that feels enormous right now. Will it matter in 10 years? Most things, the vast majority of the things we lose sleep over, ruin our days with, exhaust ourselves fighting, won't even be remembered in 5 years. Many won't be remembered in 5 months. Yet we give them everything. Our peace, our focus, our health, our relationships, all consumed by something that, in the larger frame of our lives, barely qualifies as a footnote. This is what the Stoics called the view from above, stepping back so far that your problems, without becoming meaningless, become proportionate. Marcus Aurelius practiced this constantly. When something threatened to overwhelm him, he would mentally zoom out, from the room, to the city, to the empire, to the world, to the cosmos, until whatever was troubling him appeared in its actual size. Not irrelevant, but real-sized, not amplified by panic or ego. Imagine looking at your life from the window of a plane at 30,000 feet. The traffic that infuriated you this morning. You can't even see the road. The argument that felt so significant, you can't find the room it happened in. Everything that felt huge, personal, world-ending. It's just texture in a landscape that goes on forever. Nothing changed down there. But from up here, it's manageable, survivable, proportionate. Now there's an important distinction to make here, because this is not about dismissing real pain. Loss is real. Grief is real. Injustice is real. The view from above doesn't erase those things. It just asks you to carry them in proportion. To not add the weight of catastrophizing on top of the weight of what's actually hard. Real problems deserve real attention. But most of what we're calling real problems are not. Before you react to anything that triggers you, ask the question, will this matter in 10 years? If no, give it 10 minutes of your attention, maximum. Handle it practically, and then let it go. If yes, it deserves careful thought, not a panicked reaction. Zoom out, get perspective, then decide. Either way, you've stopped the automatic spiral before it started. Everything we've talked about today, the pause, the separation of reality and story, the protection of attention, the premeditation, the pain as fuel, the present moment, the freedom from approval, the silence, the perspective, all of it leads here. To this one final shift. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are not your reactions, your fears, your doubts, your impulses. You are the one who observes all of those things. Right now, thoughts are moving through your mind. Emotions are arising and passing. Urges are forming and dissolving. If you were identical to those things, if you were made of them, you couldn't observe them. You can't watch something you are. You can only watch something that is separate from you, which means there is a you, a witnessing awareness, that exists behind and beyond every thought and emotion you've ever had. That awareness is where your power lives. The problem is that most people never find it. They spend their entire lives identified with the weather of their mind, with the storms of anger, the fog of anxiety, the cold fronts of depression, the scorching heat of obsession, believing that whatever is happening in there is what they are. But think about the sky. The sky isn't the storm. The sky holds the storm. Clouds appear, darken, rage, and dissolve, and the sky is unchanged. The sky was never the clouds. The sky was never in danger. Your awareness is the sky. Your thoughts and emotions are the weather. When you identify with the weather, you are terrified by every storm. When you identify with the sky, you watch storms move through with a kind of steady calm. Present, not indifferent. Aware, not controlled. This is what every wisdom tradition in human history, Stoicism, Buddhism, modern psychology, contemplative Christianity, has pointed toward from different directions. The shift from being the experience to witnessing the experience. When anger arises, instead of "I am angry," notice anger is here. When anxiety comes, instead of "I am anxious," notice anxiety is present. That tiny shift in language is not just semantic. It creates distance. And in that distance, just like the pause in lesson 1, but deeper, you find choice. You find freedom. You find the part of you that cannot be broken, because it was never at the mercy of what was happening around it. Marcus Aurelius practiced this every day of his life. Not because it was easy. He was human. He suffered. He grieved. He lost. He struggled. But because he knew that behind all of it, there was something steady. Something that could watch without being consumed. That steadiness is not something you achieve someday. It is something you return to, again and again, through practice, once a day, and especially in moments of strong emotion. Name what you're experiencing in the third person. Not "I'm angry." Say, "Anger is present right now." Not "I'm anxious." Say, "Anxiety is here." Sit with that for 30 seconds. Notice the distance that creates. Notice that you, the one noticing the anger, the one observing the anxiety, is not the emotion itself. That noticing is your home base. That is where your strength lives. Return to it. Every day, in every storm. You came into this video as someone reacting to life. You leave it as someone who knows, maybe for the first time, that there is a choice in the space between what happens and what you do about it. Let me say what these 10 habits actually are, stripped down. Train the pause. Expect difficulty. Separate reality from story. Guard your attention. Use your pain. Stay present. Stop needing approval. Sit with yourself. Get perspective. Become the observer. These are not 10 separate things. They are one thing, seen from 10 angles. They are the practice of choosing who you are in response to what happens to you. Not controlling the world. Not eliminating difficulty. Not becoming someone who doesn't feel. But becoming someone who cannot be permanently broken by any of it. The Stoics didn't promise you a life without pain. Marcus Aurelius lost 5 of his children. Epictetus was enslaved and physically broken. Seneca was eventually ordered to die by the emperor he served. They didn't have easy lives. They had trained minds. And that training, that disciplined, daily, unglamorous practice of the habits we've talked about today, was what kept them standing when everything was trying to take them down. You have access to everything they knew. The only question is whether you'll use it. Not when life is easy. Not when you're feeling motivated. But tomorrow morning, when you wake up and the first difficult thing arrives, and it will arrive, will you pause before you react? Will you separate fact from story? Will you ask what is required of you right now? Will you be the sky? That choice is yours every single day. And every time you make it, even imperfectly, even after failing, even when it doesn't feel natural, you are building something. Something that no person, no situation, no loss, no failure can take away. A mind that is, finally, unbreakable. Which of these 10 habits hit you hardest? Drop it in the comments. One word or one sentence. I read every single one.